Hello guys, we are going to do our last section in chapter 8 today. It's called Double Distributing and Beyond. It's a fun one. You're going to like it. So recall this is what we talked about last week. We had to distribute 2x to everything inside the parentheses. So we did 2x times x, and that's going to give us 2x squared. Brought down our plus sign, and then we did 2x times 5, and that's going to give us 10x. And we stopped here because we can't add these together because they're not like terms. They don't have the same exponent. Okay, so today we're going to look at an expression that looks a little bit different. It still says we need to distribute, but instead of just having one term out front, how many terms do I have inside this set of parentheses? Well, this is 2 terms right here. I have an x and I have a 4. So how do you think I'm going to distribute this time? So what a lot of people end up doing, if they've never seen a problem like this before, is they take this x and they multiply it times this x and they get x squared. And then they take this 4 and they multiply it times this 5 and they get 20. So they're 8 plus 20. And that's a really great idea, but it turns out we actually have to do quite a bit more than that. We have to distribute the x not just to the x, but also to the other 5. So we need to distribute this x to the x and to the 5. And then we're still not done. Then we need to go and we need to distribute the 4. So we would distribute this 4 to the x, and then we distribute this 4 to the 5. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to do x times x. That gives me x squared. Then I'm going to do x times 5. That gives me 5x, so plus 5x. Then I have 4 times x, which is 4x. It's positive, plus 4x. And then I have 4 times 5. There's my 20. Positive 20, so plus 20. And then this is almost done, but I see that I actually do have some like terms this time. I have 5x and 4x, so I can go ahead and combine those into 9x. But everything else stays the same. So x squared plus 9x plus 20. Okay, so here's our big takeaway from this section. To multiply 2 polynomials, you must double distribute, which means you're going to distribute each term separately. Go ahead and write that down, and let's get started. We have 4 examples that I need you guys to get in your notes today. So example 1, we're just going to multiply these binomials, and we're going to double distribute just like we did before. So go ahead, pause, write it down. So just like before, I'm going to distribute this x to both of my terms in here. And then I'm going to distribute this 7 to both of the terms in here. All right, let's do the green first. Let's do the x. So I've got x times x. Well, what's that going to give me? That's going to be x squared. And then I have x times 3. Well, what's going to give that? What's that going to give me? 3x. So plus 3x. Okay, done looking at those guys. Now we're going to look at the 7. So I have 7 times x. What does that give me? That's 7x, positive, so plus 7x. And then I have 7 times 3, which is 21, positive 21. Okay, where do I have like terms in this expression? Which 2 terms can I add together? Well, yeah, I have a 3x and a 7x. I can add those together because they have the same variable. Why can't I also add this x squared? Because it doesn't have the same exponent. This one has a squared and these ones don't. So I can't add the x squared, but I can add 3x and 7x and I get 10x. And then I still have that plus 21. So there we go. There's our final answer. Okay, so write down these 2 techniques. These are going to make our life easier for actually multiplying our polynomials together. We are only going to learn method number 1, but you need to write down method number 2 as well because you need to know that it exists. Okay, so here's how the box method works. Don't write this down. All right, so I'm going to look at my first polynomial. How many terms do I have? Well, that's 2 terms. I have 2x and I have 4. Okay, and then let's look at my second one. How many terms? 2 again. I have x and I have 6. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a box, and on the top, I'm going to make space for 2 terms, And on the side, I'm going to make space for 2 terms. All right, so I'm going to put this first one up on the top. So I have 2x, that's my first term, and I have 4, that's my second term. Okay, so I just took my first term, my 2x, and I put it here. Second term, I put it here. Let's look at the second polynomial. I have x and I have 6. So it's going to be x and 6. All right, so what do you think I'm going to do now that I have this set up? Like in this box right here, I see that I have 6 and I have 4. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply that 6 and that 4, and I get 24. Okay, let's look at this box. What do you think I'm going to put here? Well, I have, this box goes to the 6, and it goes to the 2x. So I'm going to multiply 6 and 2x, and I get 12x. Okay, this box goes to the x and the 4, so this is going to be 4 times x, which is 4x. And then this box, I have x times 2x. Be careful, 2 is just going to stay 2. But what's x times x? That's x squared. So these are all my terms that are in my answer. I need to write them out now in the form of a polynomial. So I'm going to start with the biggest exponent. The biggest exponent is the exponent of 2. So I have 2x squared plus, all right, next I have these 2 terms with just x's. So 4x plus 12x. And then lastly, I have my constant, which is just 24. I see I have some like terms right in the middle here, so I'm going to add those together and get 16x. And I'm done. Okay, example 2, go ahead and write it down. We're going to do this one together as well. All right, so let's take a look. How many terms do I have in each polynomial? Well, they both have 2 terms again, so I need to make a box with space for 2 terms on the top and 2 terms on the side. Now, it does not matter which one you put on the top and which one you put on the side. I usually just do the first one on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 3x squared. And then here's the big thing. I'm not going to put a 2 here because this one is negative because of this minus sign. So I'm going to put a negative 2 here. All right, and then along the side, I have x and I have 4. All right, we're going to go ahead and multiply. Well, 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. Okay, 4 times 3x squared, you multiply the 2 numbers, you get 12, and then x squared. And then x times 3x squared, well, still just a 3, but then x times x squared gives me x cubed. All right, I'm going to go ahead and write this out now. I'm going to start with the biggest exponent, which is my x cubed. So I'm going to start here, 3x cubed. That one's done. Now I have my x squared, so that's the next biggest. So plus 12x squared. How did I know this was a plus? Because this term is positive, so it's going to be a plus. My next biggest is the negative 2x. And then my last one is this negative 8 minus 8. Hey, this one doesn't have any like terms because none of them have the same exponent. So this one is done. We don't need to combine any like terms. Try example 3 on your own. So pause the video, write it down, and work it out. When you unpause it, you can check your answer, see if you got it right. All right, check in here. Check your box and make sure you have the right terms inside your box. I'm expecting that we'll have a lot of mistakes right here. Negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. Okay, next check in. This is what it looks like after I write it all out, but I see I have like terms in the middle. Be very careful when you combine these like terms. I'm doing negative 12 minus 2. Use a calculator if you need to. That's negative 14. So after I combine my like terms, this is what I get for my final answer, 12x squared minus 14x plus 2. Example 4 looks a little bit more difficult, but it's the exact same thing that we've been doing. It looks intimidating because this one's longer, but really that just means that we need to make our box a little bit bigger. So this polynomial, how many terms does it have? 1 and 2. This polynomial, how many terms does it have? 1, 2, and 3. So I need to make a box that has 2 spaces and 3 spaces. I usually like to put the longer one on top. So I'm going to make the 3 on top and the 2 on the side. All right, so I'm going to put my first one on top, x squared, minus 2x, positive 5. And then I'm going to put my short one on the side, x and 4. All right, now nothing new here. We're just going to go ahead and multiply all of our terms together. So this box right here is going to be 4 times 5, which gives us 20. Now I need to go ahead and write my answer out. I'm going to go in order from biggest exponent to smallest. My biggest exponent is this x cubed, so I'm going to do that one first. My next biggest is my x squared, so I'm going to do these guys. And I'm actually going to combine my like terms as I write it out. I'm not going to do 2 lines. So I have 4x squared minus 2x squared. That's going to be 2x squared. Same thing for my x's. I have negative 8x and positive 5x. Well, negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3, so that's going to be minus 3x. And then plus 20. Since we already combined our like terms while we were writing it out, this one is done.